Hello, everyone. So, today we're going to talk about, of course, the stages of group formation, and secondly, we're going to talk about the elements of group structure. So, to begin with, let us understand that usually, whenever we join groups, we don't immediately become members of these groups as soon as we join them. Obviously we need to go through a lot of stages, in order to really understand the motive, the goals of a group, whether we can actually fit in the group or not. So definitely there are certain developmental sequences, that were actually suggested by Tuckman. And he actually suggested that how groups tend to pass, through these stages, various stages. So one is, of course, the forming, storming, norming, performing, and there is adjourning. So let us begin with the first one, which is the forming stage. So here what's happening is the group members, they come together. So initially they are just trying to meet one another, and also there can be a slight uncertainty, about the entire group, whether what's the goal and how are we going to achieve the goal particularly. Also people are trying to know each other, whether they can actually fit in the group. So all of that happens in the very first stage. Also there'll be certain fears, apprehensions, there can be excitement also. So this stage is actually called the forming stage, where you also tend to understand what are going to be the attitudes of other people, who's going to probably lead this group. So all such thoughts, they keep coming into our minds, and we are basically trying to understand the goal and probably trying to meet and understand other people, also trying to understand whether we can fit in this group. So here this is the forming stage, which is the very first stage. Then is the storming, which is the second stage. Very interesting, where begins the intra group conflicts. So when we talk about intra group conflicts, it's also basically where how the members of the groups, the member of that particular group, or the members of that same group are actually going to get into conflicts, between one another. So it's amongst the members. Basically conflicts are not between two groups, but within the same group itself, amongst the members. And it could be basically regarding how is the target going to be achieved, who's going to take control of the group, what are the various resources available, who shall be performing the task, and of course a lot of leaderships, in terms of course a sort of hierarchy of leadership is also kind of developed here. And they are trying to develop a very clear vision, a clear purpose as to how are they going to achieve the goal of the group. So of course in storming, they are basically trying to understand that how are they so different, pertaining to their own goals from other people, and how probably they could organize themselves. And so a lot of conflicts occur here amongst the members itself. And also, like, they're trying to understand and form a hierarchy of leadership, and really trying to put up a clear vision, a clear purpose, you know. And of course after storming comes the norming, where it's all about, the rules concerning the group behavior. So group members have to develop certain norms that could be pertaining to the group behavior only, and this in turn is going to develop a positive group identity. Of course, how can they actually work together, ways of working together, coming together more closely. So of course there will be a sense of group identity felt over here. And we also have the fourth stage, which is the performing. So here begins the actual work, the real task, because now the structure of the group has already come out in a way, and members have very comfortably accepted also. Now the group is going to start moving towards achieving the group goal basically. And also it's for most of the groups, if you come to see, mainly, for some of the groups generally, it's also the last stage of group development, because now they're going to be having a very effective structure, and they're going to focus a lot on achieving the tasks, and they're going to basically come together, collaborate, and they're going to come up and complete the tasks in the most friendly manner. Of course, then we have the last stage, which is the adjourning stage, which is very important because this is the stage where the group is actually disbanded. So the group is in a way, it's called off, and maybe it was made for attaining a particular goal, achieving certain goals were achieved. Now the group actually was disbanded, or it was called off, so maybe it could be a group that could be pertaining to a committee. You wanted to kind of fulfill something, and then ultimately the group was called off and it was disbanded once the task got over. So this is how these stages are very, very important to understand when it comes to the group formation, especially. But also, many a times we've noticed that these groups do not proceed from one stage to the next in a very, very systematic manner. So many a times it also happens that, several stages, they are taking place simultaneously at the same time, basically, and they can always go back and forth, like literally going back to the previous stage and then even sometimes skipping certain stages. So we can't really say that this is how it in a way follows a definite pattern, not necessary, but these are the basic stages, so to say, that generally a group has to undergo in order to be formed. And then, of course, we have the next, which is the elements of group structure. Let us move on to the next slide, which very clearly talks about the elements of group structure. So, here we have the four most important elements. We have the roles, we have the norms, we have the status, and we have the cohesiveness. So, pertaining to the roles, of course, these are nothing but our own roles and our own responsibilities. And of course, with the roles and responsibilities, there are going to be expectations also coming our way, definitely. So these are nothing but socially defined expectations. That's what roles are all about, and generally, every member of the group is expected to fulfill these expectations. So it's usually a very typical behavior, that we get to know from the kind of role that he's been assigned to kind of perform. So even when we talk about family as a group, so we all have a role to play. If it could probably be pertaining to a son or to a daughter, your role is to kind of really, listen to your elders, respect them, to basically be able to do your chores, daily chores, timely, to make them proud. So there are, of course, a lot of expectations coming from the parents too. And we tend to perform those roles when being a part of a group, definitely. And with these roles, of course, comes the expectations, of course. So then we have the norms, where they are basically the expected standards of behavior and beliefs. Generally, what is expected out of you, what kind of behavior is expected out of you, and what is the general belief system of that particular group. So basically, these are the unspoken rules, and these unspoken rules are in a way governing your own behavior. It's making it simpler for you to behave in a proper way, in the most predictable way, and in the most desirable way, rather. So these unspoken rules are nothing but the norms. So they guide, of course, the behavior of the group members, and it's all about the shared ways of really looking at the world. Then comes the status, which is nothing but your a relative social position, you know, and this status can either be, ascribed, or it could be achieved. So, when we talk about ascribed, of course, definitely maybe it's given to you, keeping in mind maybe because of your seniority, or maybe with your own hard work, with your great effort, you have actually achieved, you have actually earned it, literally. So this is how we define the status. And generally, the members, they really enjoy that kind of status symbol also, that's associated with that group, and they really want to be a part of those groups, especially where they've got a high status symbol, or generally they are viewed very favorably, by the others. So everybody's got their own status in a group, if we come to see, sometimes there are certain members in the groups who probably will be having a higher status than the other. That's pertaining to your own social identity, actually. And then comes the last one, which is the cohesiveness, which literally is all about togetherness. So, cohesiveness is all about togetherness. It's all about how much are you having the mutual affection, the mutual attraction amongst, the members, of course. And as and how the group is going to become more and more cohesive, the group members will start feeling, thinking, and of course acting, as one complete social unit, as one social unit, and they will not feel like aloof individuals or isolated individuals. Instead, they're going to feel a lot of togetherness. They're going to feel and really sense the feeling of togetherness, belongingness. They will actually feel belonged to the group. So because there's so much of togetherness that they are feeling, so the way they feel, they act, the way they think, is all of it going to be as one, basically. So whenever we see these highly cohesive groups, you know you know people want to continue to be there, because they feel so loved, they feel so belonged to it, they feel that kind of mutual respect, attraction, affection. So they continue to want to be staying in the same group where it's got a high cohesiveness, and it's like basically the we feeling, actually, which you can actually sense, and but sometimes, the extreme cohesiveness can also be a little unfavorable for the group, because it may not really be in the interest of the entire group. So extreme cohesiveness can take the shape of groupthink. Now, what is this groupthink? If we come to see, it's basically how you tend to think or you make decisions as a group, but whatever decisions that you're taking, they are basically typically very unchallenged, poor quality decisions. And why are you doing this? Is because, there is this common desire to not to upset the balance of a group of people. So you tend to come to the same decision, which may not be of your interest, or that may not be of your type, but just because you don't wish to upset the balance of the group, so you are in a way forcibly coming to a decision, which may be very poor quality decision, or it may be a very unchallenged decision. So extreme cohesiveness can lead to groupthink, so that's also like a consequence, and it may not be good for the benefit of the group, actually. So literally this extreme cohesiveness can take the shape of groupthink also, right? So this was all about the elements and the structure uh, of course the structure which pertains to the four elements, and of course we had the stages of group formation. Thank you so much.